Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Little bit about myself. Well, I'll be 78 next month, and I worked a lot in Ottawa for several years, and I was born on what they call the New Germany Grant. That was a reserve that my father, when he came back from the war, he had bought 267 acres. And at that time it was only $1 an acre.
Wow.
So, but the government had no right to sell that land. So it was basically the older people that lived around knew that we come from the reserve, but it's not a reserve anymore. And so when I was 16, I left, went to Toronto, worked up there, and then I ended up getting in politics, Native politics, in 1976. And from there, that's where I stayed all my life. And I've been elected a couple times in Ottawa to national organization, but I also have worked in addictions. I was a counselor in addiction, and I worked at the Spring Hill Penitentiary, also doing classes there. And then I went back to Ottawa again, and I've been at the United Nations 4 times with the government of Canada, and also the country of Finland sponsored me one time to go back to the UN. We used to meet with the ministers in Ottawa and the prime ministers also. We had an opportunity to meet with them, and those kind of topics were always discussed, like also with the environment, and also with the act that related to, all the animals and plants and things like that there. So yeah, we were discussing just about all topics in relation to how Native people live within Canada. And I also did a study here in Truro, where they were bringing in the gas from Sable Island, and we had from Sable Island right to Halifax, we had a survey. I had people go out and interview the elders about where our medicine might be, and whether when they're putting in the pipeline that they're not interfering with where our medicines are that we got.
Would that have been Alton Gas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did study for Jack Switford, the environmental group. Oh, we did the big demonstrations in relation to that, and also at that time was probably around 78 that we had Native people from across Canada come in from all the reserves and off-reserve people by train. We had thousands of Native people in there demonstrating against the government, and also we wanted our issues addressed. Like I remember going to a meeting, and his name was Bob. He come in, and I was a little bit late meeting with the government, and Bob was still talking about issues we were dealing with in the 70s, and this is the 90s. And I said to the government people, Bob is like singing Old Lang Syne. Every time we get a new government, we have to educate the government in relation to where we have been and what we had accomplished in the past. And so if you had a change from the Liberals to the PCs or whatever, they knew nothing. You know, and I said, it'll take us another 50 to 100 years to get this all explained. And I said, and government moves on every 4 or 8 years. And I said, we have to start all over again. You know, because some people have been waiting for land claims to be settled for over 100 years. My family have a land claim on that New Germany Reserve at that time. It was put in back in the early 80s, and we still haven't heard anything about that. So if you have any short-term wishes in relation to the federal government, no matter who it is, you'll wait months, maybe a year, before you get a response to a letter you sent them.
How was the New Germany Reserve back when your father bought the land and you lived there?
What was it like there? You lived there till you were 16?
Yeah, but as soon as he came back from the war, I just came along, because he was in the war for 5 years. And that's the difference with me and my older brother, was 5 years. So he came from the war, but now we have everybody living there, you know, that are non-native or that type of thing. So, but I know that the non-natives off reserve would always say, "Oh, you're Claude Dorey's daughter," and I was wondering why they were making that kind of comment to me when I was 16 or 17. But they knew where we were from.
What would be your connection to Indian Brook? Were you born here?
Well, my grandfather is buried here, and some of my cousins, and my mother was really from here also, but my grandfather was Peter Muse, and he believed with Muse, he was from Bear River, you know, but he used to travel around. He was known as the fiddler. And my mother used to always have to step dance for supper.
Oh.
That was what she said, but she had left here when she was about 15. She married my dad.
Or how come you decided to come home?
Well, I had never lived here before I arrived home back about 22 years ago. So I wanted to have my connection to the reserve and the people that I was related to. And having several bad accidents, I said when I left Ottawa, I was moving home to die. And that's because where my ancestry is, so with my grandfather and my uncles and my aunts, and I wanted my children to know where we was really related to, and our history and our culture, and that I wanted them to know their identity as Mi'kmaq people, you know, because it's important that the young people know that identity, because of the residential school and all of the problems that we had way back. You know, I don't think we were very proud of who we were because of people saying very negative things about us as a people. And I think after having that, I wanted my children to know where we really originated from. That was important to me as a mother. Yeah.
What is one thing about Mi'kmaq identity that you would really want somebody to know?
Well, as for identity from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's very different with the tribes. And being out all over Canada and out west, I remember the first time I went to Edmonton, and they had a drummers at the gathering we was at, and I was really, it bothered me once the drumming started, and I thought, well, this is what I was told, the drum is the heartbeat of our nation. But the natives out west dressed differently. What we did as Mi'kmaq people, we generally wore leather with clams hanging off instead of the I forget the name of the dancers that have all the jingle dancers. And because my kids, girls, were in the Mi'kmaq Cultural in Halifax Center where they learned how to dance. So that's a part of the culture that we are basically using today. And that's from other different nations. You have different beliefs, but we have our own beliefs in how we had lived, say in the 1700s. And so it's important. It was important for me to learn everybody's culture, their ties to their identity, and it's like all my kids are participating now on reserves, and my one daughter and tourist lived on Millbrook Reserve for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I lived there 12 years in Millbrook, and then I went back to Ottawa and worked back there, and after 14 years decided my community is this community. And all my cousins and stuff is here, and I wanted to get to know them. But I'm very inclined to, even at my age, still continue to learn more, because I like doing sweats and going to powwows and participating in the culture of what we have. It's important for the young people to get to know where their real identity starts from.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
No, it would take too long. Because I've traveled a lot. I've traveled over Europe. I've been part of the UN, like I said, four times. I taught at the penitentiary, and I used to work for the Halifax Police Department, and you name it, I just about did it, because if you think you're curious, I'm nosy.